Hello and welcome back to the Stacey West YouTube channel. Looking ahead to another game coming thick and fast at the minute. This week we are previewing Wycombe at home, the first league home match, the first home match full stop of the season. So to talk all about it, I am joined by George from the Wycombe Way. How are we doing?
Oh, very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Looking forward to the game this weekend.
Thank you for coming on and talking to us about all things Wycombe. So I guess the best place to start is to talk about last weekend's games. I'm sure you probably want to talk about that one as much as I do, but 3-0 loss to Exeter, wasn't it? Home game. 2 goals inside of 4 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, and then a penalty save inside of 9 minutes, which, slightly better. But what happened?
First 10 minutes felt like a mental fever dream. It was just unbelievable. We'd barely got underway and Exeter 1-0 up, and then a scrappy goal from a corner, and it's 2, like you say, within 3 minutes. And at that point, sort of the game plan goes out the window. You're already chasing a 2-goal lead. And against any team in the division, that's going to be tricky to come back from. Exeter did really well, and obviously a penalty mistake. A penalty on 8 minutes from a mistake from the goalkeeper. He made up for it with a fantastic save. But, from 10 minutes on, we were in the game. But, it's always tricky to chase a 2-goal lead against anyone.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the thing. It was somewhat similar with us. We went 1-0 down away at Bolton inside of 4 minutes. And when you're away at one of the teams that people expect to be title challenging inside of 4 minutes, there's not really much you can do to get back into it. So I guess it's a very kind of similar situation with yourselves. Was it out of character mistakes, or was it just naivety? What was it, if you could sort of put your finger on one thing that made you go 2 goals down so early?
It's obviously the first game of the season. It is tricky to put it down to any one thing. The first goal came from a misplaced pass. And I suppose if you're going to dissect that under Ainsworth, it might have just gone up the pitch. Mm-hmm. It would have been gone to their goalkeeper first instance, but we tried to play out from the back, a risky pass, and that backfired. And then the second goal is just poor defending. It's just one of them things. It happens. Probably still a bit shocked from the first goal going in. They don't clear the ball, don't get rid of it, and it's stabbed home for 2. And at that point, you're really up against it.
Okay, well, like Lincoln, you had the chance, or you took the chance to really turn the form around in midweek away at MK Dons, weren't you? And nice, comfortable 2-0 win, or was it a lot more of a struggle than what you'd have maybe hoped?
Up to the first half, I think a lot of people were sort of on edge a little bit. It was very similar to the issues we saw on Saturday. And then second half, we made a few subs that really changed the game in our favour. And for the last sort of half hour, 25 minutes, we were in total control, really. Again, 2 sort of scrappy goals in our favour, but on the complexion of the second half, I think we did deserve it, and we came away with a 2-0 win, which puts us in the hat. And like you say, it's a good result, bouncing back from Saturday to disappointment.
Yeah, this is the thing. Those midweek cup games, obviously it's always nice to have a cup run. People aren't too bothered about the League Cup as much anymore, it seems. But especially when yourselves, like us, losing last weekend, it's really good to be able to turn around that form, which is really positive.
Yeah, especially against Milton Keynes as well. It was a game that everyone wanted to win. A few question marks pre-game whether he'd go for sort of a cup side. But no, he did go really strong. He obviously went out looking for the win, Matt Bloomfield, and in the end he got the victory he deserved. And it's got the fans back on side.
So sort of you mentioned Matt Bloomfield there. I guess one of the big questions that everybody has on Wycombe this season is, has he been able to implement his style? And has he been able to do things radically different to what you've been doing for years?
There's difference enough, but it's not a total overhaul. There is still a sort of a direct aspect of it, but there's a little bit more patience in the build-up. I mean, under Ainsworth, there was no secret. Wycombe would get the ball to the first centre-back, and it would go long to the striker up front. With Bloomfield, you can sort of see that although there's a long ball here and there to Sam Vokes, and that's one of his strengths, you've got to play to them, there's a little bit more progression through the midfield. And we've signed ball-playing defenders and midfielders this summer. So it's clear to see, especially in the business we've done, the way that Matt Bluefield wants to go. I think we're still waiting to see that translated onto the pitch. I think, especially on Saturday, there's a little bit too many long balls than we would have liked. And Tuesday in the first half as well, a little bit scrappy start to the game. But that will come with time. There's a lot of new signings to bed in. I think we've made 9 this season, which is up there. In the league.
I guess this is very much the thing, because Matt Bloomfield probably would have very much liked to implement his style as soon as he came in last season. But you just can't do that with a set of players specifically designed for a whole other system, can you? So it's going to take time. And I think if we're being honest with ourselves, a lot of people haven't put you in a playoff fight this year in their predictions, myself included. And I think this is probably just going to be a bit of a transition year for you. What do you think?
Yeah, it was. Blooms did try at the back in the last season to implement his style, but like you said, when you've got a squad of players who have been built to play a long ball system, it's not going to work. There's a stat which has been doing the rounds at the back end of last season and on Saturday. In games that Wycombe have had more possession, they've lost every single one. In the games last season that Wycombe had less possession, they won every single one. So I suppose it's just trying to find the balance of having the ball, but also being
doing something with it.
And
I think that's always a difficulty, because we were very much the same up until I think February last year, if I'm not mistaken. Every win we had was 42% possession or lower. So and we weren't playing long balls direct, but we were a counter-attacking side, and we utilised our strengths and what we had. Very kind of similar in that. It's going to be a really interesting game. Obviously, last season was a 0-0 draw at home for us, if I'm not mistaken. So it was the World Cup day, wasn't it? Because England France was that night. And then obviously we can mention the game against you lot at your place. A nice, comfortable 2-0 victory with a Sorensen, a bit of a peach of a goal. I just bring that up at every opportunity I have. I've got to be honest. So you've mentioned 9 signings. Who are the one or two players that for you really stand out, whether it's on paper or from what you've seen so far out of those signings? Who are the key new players?
On paper, I think you need to look at the 2 wing backs we brought in.
Yeah.
I think that's very important that Bloomfield got them in early. He made it clear last season and throughout the summer he wanted to implement a sort of 5-back with very dynamic attacking wing backs. And the 2 signings are perfect. Kane Vincent-Young has come with rave reviews from both Ipswich and Colchester. Still only 26, so there's a lot of growing to do there. He's in his prime years. And on the other side, Harry Boyes on loan from Sheffield United, obviously at Lincoln last season, and by all accounts impressed there. And had a decent loan spell at Forest Green first half of the season. And he arguably was man of the match on Saturday. Not a big pool to pick from, but he played well. And again, we've dipped heavily into the loan market this year. We've already got 4 in from Premier League clubs. We're looking at a 5th from Crystal Palace, but Freddie Potts on loan from West Ham. He looks really, really good, really tidy. And Dale Taylor on loan from Nottingham Forest. He had a lot of Championship suitors. But Bloomfield, he said he was on the phone for hours and hours trying to twist Forest arm, and he looks really good so far.
I've got to be honest, you've very much picked out the 3 players there who I was kind of going to bring up to you. I mean, we'll start with Dale Taylor. Dale Taylor, somebody that we've spoken about on the podcast, is somebody who Lincoln could have looked at before we got Tyler Walker in, obviously before he went to yourselves. Somebody who we could have looked at as a loan signing. And I've watched Dale Taylor a good bit. a couple of Forest youth games, and obviously when he was at Burton as well. So I think you've got a right good, proper, complete forward in there, and hopefully somebody that can really, really kick on for you. And then obviously Harry Boyes, former Lincoln. I really, really rated Harry Boyes. I think he grew into his role at Lincoln. I thought his debut away at Charlton was really impressive, and then he really had the opportunity to grow in. And Sheffield Wednesday away, he was absolutely brilliant. So again, you've got a really good player in there, and I mean we don't even need to mention Kane Vincent-Young, do we? There's so many people that rate him, and rightly so. Great player. So you've really built what looks on paper to be a good, solid League One side.
Yeah, and it's going to take time for those signings to bed in. In my predictions, I've sort of been flirting with the top 6, but I'm not sure if I can see it just because of how many signings have got to gel, as well as the new style of play. It's going to be tricky for the experienced players who are already there to transition from a long ball style into a progressive passing game. But on paper and on the pitch, the signings are really exciting. And there's a nice blend as well of experience. Richard Keogh, what is he now, 37? I mean, he still looks really good for the level. And Luke Lee, he obviously had a couple of fantastic seasons at Shrewsbury, and he's come in and he looks really good as well. So there's a nice mix, and it's nice to see that the promises Bloomfield made early in the summer about bringing in versatile players, and he's delivered.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've really got it looks like on paper that you've got a really good blend of players in that squad, so that you're going to be able to change games even, which I think is the big thing, switch around formations mid-game. And I think that's what we need to be able to do in this game, in this league, because however you start is very rarely how you finish nowadays. So being able to change things on the 60-minute mark is going to get you points. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we lacked under Ainsworth. His in-game management, although he was a really good man manager, if we went behind in the game, you sort of fear the worst, that it was either going to get worse or we weren't going to get back into it. With Bloomfield already in pre-season and last end of the season, you always felt there's a chance that we were going to get back into games.
Well, that's worrying to know if we end up 1-0 up in the 60th minute. But yeah, that's the thing. It does look like you've got that kind of blend of players. So you've kind of mentioned the fact that you've got attacking wing backs, and obviously you're trying to play a lot more kind of ball playing, moving through the thirds. What sort of formation are we looking at for you to be playing in on Saturday?
The best way I can describe it is Gareth Southgate's England.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You've got the 5 at the back and 2 more conservative defensive midfielders.
Yeah.
And then you've got 2 out-and-out forwards, and then sort of your Jordan Henderson moulding Kean Brecken, who can get forward and go back. So I suppose at times it can leave us a little bit short going forward.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of defensive stability there.
But that's obviously then when the wing backs need to be pushing up and utilising those wing spaces that are being left open. Yeah. Well, it sounds like we're going to have one hell of a game on Saturday then. If you guys are obviously quite defensive, we're hopefully going to be attacking in a unit of potentially 5 players if the wing backs get forward for us. So it's going to be really interesting to see whether we can break down that defence. We're going to come at you. Obviously, it's a home game. And then we're just going to hope that you don't play too many long balls over the back and catch us out. So that would be really interesting. So I guess to kind of round it up the way I always do with these previews, what are we saying in terms of a score prediction?
I mean, like you said, I hope it's going to be an attacking game. Both teams trying to right the wrongs from Saturday, trying to get points on the board. But I don't think there's ever many goals between the 2 teams at Sincil Bank.
No.
So if we're going off history, I'm going to say a 1-0 either way. But I'm hoping there's going to be goals with 2 more attacking sides. I'm going to go. I'm going to go on the mid. I'm going to say 2-2.
Okay, interesting. I'm going to go for a nice, comfortable 2-0 victory to us, purely out of optimism more than anything else. But I definitely do think it's going to be a really interesting game. It'll be interesting to see how you guys play in what is effectively a different system now from what you're used to. And hopefully there's not quite as many extra time minutes added on as there would have been if it was Ainsworth. So,
well, I'm not sure with the new rules. It might have even more.
I know. Well, this is the problem. No, it'll be definitely be really good. So, thank you very much, George, for coming on.
No, thank you for having me.
No, thanks for telling us all about Wycombe, guys. Gary keeps on banging on about it. I keep on banging on about it. Make sure to go down there, subscribe onto the YouTube channel. We are now only something like 80 away from the 1,000 mark. Get yourself subscribed. Check out all the other content. It'll pop up on the screen at the end of the video. So go and check it out. Obviously, check out the podcast. That will be released tonight if you've not seen it already. And yeah, all that's left to say is up the imps.